Today, on The American Land Seller, we're joined by Brittany Murphy, the creative genius and strategic marketing mind behind Ironhorse Land Company. Brittany is a fourth-generation real estate professional from Lebanon, Tennessee. She's been immersed in the industry her entire life, learning the business at the dinner table long before it became her career. She's worked with several national land brands, helping build marketing systems, brand standards, and multi-state growth strategies that are both scalable and results-driven. At Ironhorse, she leads brand direction, marketing execution, and expansion strategy. And if you've seen what we've been building here, you've seen her fingerprints all over it. In this episode, Brittany and I pull back the curtains on what it really takes to launch a land company from the ground up, build a recognizable brand, and create marketing that actually moves listings.
Welcome to the American Land Seller Podcast with your hosts, Koby Rickardson and Brittany Murphy. Koby is an accredited land consultant and the CEO, managing broker of Ironhorse Land Company, a multi-state land brokerage specializing in farm, ranch, recreational, and development land across the heartland. Brittany is the Chief Marketing Officer of Ironhorse, bringing top-level marketing strategy, brand development, and creative execution built specifically for the land business. Each week, we bring you real-world insight and expert conversations on land sales, marketing, regulations, economics, and the trends shaping the land market across America.
Okay, Koby and our special guests, let's get started.
Hey, welcome back to the new and improved American Land Seller Podcast, and super excited for the guest we have today, Brittany Murphy from Lebanon, Tennessee. I think a lot of people that listen to this know who Brittany is. Brittany, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Koby?
I am just doing wonderful. It's exciting to be back and start working on the podcast again. As everybody kind of knows, made a change last year and started my own company, and so that took a little bit of my time, but we're trying to put this back together. This has always been something fun that I've liked to do. What about you? You've kind of been out of the business for a while. What have you been up to?
Oh, just raising Jake Murphy's little girl.
I almost thought you were going to say raising Jake Murphy.
Well, if we're being honest, that too.
We won't tell him.
Jake settled in and Blair settled in, and we made a pit stop in Texas and loved our time in Texas, but now we are back home. Well, home for me in Tennessee.
Yeah, and it seems like, you guys are loving it there. It seems like a good move for you, and I know Jake's doing a great at his job and loves it with the little bit of freedom that he has.
Yeah.
So what's he been up to?
So it's definitely a total God thing. We've had this conversation before. We were in Texas, just really leaning into our faith and trying to figure out what those next steps looked for us, and started praying, and Jake's literal dream job wound up right in his lap. So more than we could have ever asked for. And what is that dream job? Well, it's surgical sales. So he's doing neurosurgery, surgical sales most of the week. And he is very into it and passionate. If you know Jake, he's just a passionate person in general. So you would expect that, but it is truly something that he's excited about and loves, and has an incredible boss and surgeon that he gets to work with. So it's been really good for him.
I think, I know the first time that you told me about what he did, it was like, oh, he's a salesman. He is not a salesman. He guides that product of his all the way until the surgery's finished. Isn't that right?
Yeah. So he actually works with one of the top neurosurgeons here in Nashville, and they just jive incredibly well together. I will brag on him a little bit. His boss has also been in the business, I think, his whole life, so 30 some odd years, and they call on Jake to even know how to handle different surgeries across the country. His whole sole purpose is to be in that room and make sure that his surgeon has everything that he needs. And if, there's a hiccup during surgery, Jake walks them through it, figures it out, Sometimes he has to go and hunt down another product that's not even his. I mean, it's very, very technical, methodical. Even, I would even venture to say creative. It fits every aspect of his personality, and he gets to be home with us more. So that's the biggest blessing in it all.
That is the most important thing, is making sure you get your family time so that you have that joy in your life. So, well, let's move on to what you've been up to. So, Jake's got a great job. And, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of an interesting story from my standpoint, because you talk about praying. I was praying very hard, having a little bit of the last company I was with, loved the company, loved the people. Kind of seemed like we weren't on the same page, and they were moving in a different direction. And it was a mutual, like no hard feelings type of exit for me. And so I kind of had started thinking, if I go to another company, it's going to be the same thing. I'm at the whim of somebody else. And so as I got to be praying about this, you guys popped into my mind, because I thought, well, like maybe you want a project or two while you're
Or a
in
whole
between.
company.
Yeah, well, like initially it was just, hey, maybe we can just work something out where you can do a project or two, and that's not really the way you work, I've found out. So now here we are, Nick deep in Ironhorse Bank Company, and it's been really fun so far. So we've been
Yeah.
blessed. So talk just a little bit about what were you thinking when I reached out to you and asked us if you were interested in helping out? Is that just
Well, to
timing
be
was right, or?
completely Yeah, we had just landed in Tennessee, and obviously this is still new news to some people even listening to this podcast. So I had to be in front of the whole town 2 weeks ago, and they're like, "Wait, you're here?" I didn't make a thing of it. My sole purpose in life and focus is being a mom and a wife, and so I wanted to be sure that I got Jake and Blair all settled in. So you definitely called me on the front end of that. But, we have been praying to God for the right opportunities to find us, and you and I sat down and had that conversation, and I definitely have the gift of discernment. So I just laid it all out there for you. I was very frank with you and let you know what my priorities were and what I could do for you. And it seemed like it all landed really well and that I could trust you and your respect to those boundaries. So I figured, I know the proposal I put together for you was very fractional, although my hours are not necessarily full time, that we have kind of just blown right past what we initially thought this partnership would be. In the best way, in the most natural and organic way. And so, yeah, I think it just was like, wow, this really makes sense. And the more you and I have worked together, the more like it has just felt absolutely like a blessing, and that this is exactly what God wants me to be doing, because we get things done together and we do it well. And you've built an incredible team so far. And I don't have to, dread it or worry about anything. And I don't know, we're full steam ahead. I feel like we make good partnership between all the people we've got put in on this so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that the blessings have been the people that we have been able to add. Even the small amount that we have to start with have been very patient and understanding as we prop up our systems and things like that.
You absolutely have.
I laugh, like you and I joke about it all the time, that we must make it look easy because there's an awful lot of new companies coming online.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it's like, oh, Ironhorse can do it, so this must be easy. So I don't know whether that's just that I walk around like I need a drill cup all the time or something. I don't know what that is. Like, but
No, but you are still enjoying life, and that's one thing that I have loved and admired about you and Carrie is like, we're doing this and we're doing it right. We're doing it with intention. We're doing it making sure that the right operations are in place, but you're not forgetting to live your life. And so, yeah, I'm sure some people see that and they're like, wow, he's got it great. And it's like, well, little do you know that we're texting back and forth 10, 11 at night, and all the true hours that get put into this so that you can take a breather for a second and then show up refreshed and keep pushing forward.
yeah, it's definitely more challenging than people think, and you're trying to convince somebody, especially like where I'm at, where I've shifted companies a couple times in the last few years. Sold my own, went to work for somebody, didn't have the same philosophy with them, went to work for another company, and didn't, ended up being not exactly what we thought it was going to be on either side. So it's definitely been a journey, but I honestly, like some of the people that I got to work with, during those times, even though it seems like I was wasting my time. I really wasn't, because I got to meet a great amount of quality agents that totally reinforced that there are great people in our industry that really are focused on putting the best product out there. And so yeah, it's been a journey, that's for sure. But we so far we've had, like, the brand is fun though. Let's talk just a little bit about that. I was actually going through my Canva the other day and kind of trying to weed out some of the crap that I have in there. And I have the series of logos that we went through when we were trying to figure out the company name
Mhm.
even and all that. And so Ironhorse was not my first choice when I was doing it. But what do you think about the brand and kind of where it's evolved to?
I just love the intention that you put behind it. So most people won't know this, obviously, as new as we are, but that was the one thing that impressed me the most when Kobe called me was how much he had already done on his own and how much in like you could tell time and intention and quality had been put behind the brand already. It wasn't just a done good enough, let's get a company started so I can start making money off of agents. It was like I have really taken the time and thought to put all this together. So, yeah, it's been fun trying to figure out like what is that how does that brand come across visually? And one thing that we've always put at the center of that is making sure that we actually are in alignment with our clients and not just trying to chase them down with a sexy logo. We want something that resonates with them. We want something that they can actually say, I understand that, and not just be trying to fly 30,000 feet above their heads. So I do think it's gotten a little bit more fun and modern. I try and keep it grounded. One brand that I've been really inspired by is Field and Stream and
Mhm.
their rebrand. And so I kind of think of like I'd try to look at it through that lens of our brand of like nostalgia and just Americana, but also modern day, what are we becoming? And so that's kind of been my eyesight of it and putting the brand together and all of our visuals.
Yeah, it's so there's a lot to it. I mean, there really is. Every time I think we're getting somewhere, it seems like I take a corner and there's another mountain to dig through.
Yeah.
But that has been the best blessing, though, is to have you around to kind of like, I have a little bit of marketing experience and I don't think I'm horrible at designing, but
No, you're not.
I I think it's kind of fun to, like, I'll send you an idea and then see what it comes back all polished up, and so it's been really fun.
Fun fact, when Kobe hired me, I said, "I don't know what you need me for," because what he puts together truly, like, blows some other companies out of the water on its own. So it is nice that Kobe sends me his thoughts, and then I get to just wrap it in a pretty bow, and it's usually, like, I've never just completely scrapped whatever you've done. Like, it usually is a good blend of the 2 of us if it's some of our more intensive stuff. I mean, some stuff I just do all on my own, but the bigger projects is definitely a blend of us.
Yeah, it really has been. It's been really collaborative, and, I think that's one of the things that I like, when I had Remax before and I had the locations and the agents and, it was like, there was really no collaboration. It was, everybody kinda looked to me. The brand was the brand, you really didn't get to do much with it, and so it was more of a, like a broker role and a
Mhm.
management role of the personnel management, and so this has been really fun to be able to be on this truly is something that is we can look at it and say we just created this from nothing.
Yeah.
And it's worked out to be really, really sexy.
Yeah, and I like to brag on Brian for a second. I'm gonna venture to guess that he's not the most creative person in the world, but I love working with him on whatever he's got going on at the time because he'll be like, "That just doesn't feel like the brand." And I'm like, "You're right, let's keep going." And so to even have input from the people who aren't building it with us and get feedback has been fun.
Yeah, and I mean, just the people in the company, just period, have been, I can't say enough about how blessed we are to have everybody from Destiny all the way through Joel and
Mhm.
Brian and even Carrie helping out, having her input, even though she doesn't work technically as an agent for our company, just to have her in there and bounce ideas off of. And the collaboration, I think, is really what's been a lot more freeing, I guess, for me, in the sense that I don't think about it from the standpoint where I'm overwhelmed and I have to have everything on my plate. So
Yeah.
it's been pretty fun.
I know I bragged on you during the RLI podcast, but for those who don't know, Koby has a psychology background, and it's not a check in the box psychology background. It is very innately who he is. And so, for funsies, a few months ago, I had everybody take personality assessments just so we can, we have such a good thing going. We want to make sure that we're keeping that momentum and we're meeting people where they're at and honoring who they are at their core and not just pushing things off on each other for the sake of getting something done. And when I did that, they, all their personality assessments came back exactly who we think they are and exactly fits the role that they are in this company. And Koby just did that on his own. He did that without personality assessments, without a headhunter doing a lot of legwork before him. He did that completely on intuition. I know a lot of companies are like, yeah, we're a family. Things are great. We love each other. No, this is a very normal, organic, not forced. Brian's texted me the other night his engagement pictures, and that just made my heart so happy. And then to wake up even to his engagement picture, the full album in my inbox. And I'm just like, I love this. That's what inspired that Valentine's Day post, because I wanted to use his picture and not make him feel weird about it.
That was such a cool post too. I had a lot of feedback from people on that was not normal. That was definitely outside the box. And again, that's the kind of fun stuff that I'm, that we see in our marketing. That's just, and to be able to, I think a lot of it is to have the freedom to kind of do what, within a reason,
Right.
what you want to do. It's your baby. So
yeah. No, I will say, I of course keep a pulse on what the industry is doing in general, but as I told you the other day, and now we might see some things shake up, but print ads haven't even changed in 5 years that I've been paying attention. I'm like, that's so boring. Nobody likes boring. People are going to catch on to that, and especially as we see the land industry change and who owns property. People are going to start realizing that. And especially in the day of AI, I get a lot of inspiration from outside of the industry. And so it was a boat company too. So Brian's engagement photo that I was desperate to plaster without completely embarrassing him, and a boat company's Valentine's post inspired all of that. So it is fun to just put it together and see how it lands with people. And it does stick out because people are used to you being like, for sale, buy my land. They like to see the faces and the creativity behind it.
I think you are absolutely right. Let's take a quick break and we will be right back.
The Land Report. The American Land Seller Podcast is proud to be sponsored by The Land Report. For landowners, investors, and land professionals who want more than headlines, The Land Report goes deeper. Market trends, data-driven insight, and long-form storytelling focused entirely on land. This is not residential real estate news. This is land. Big land, working land, legacy land. Visit thelandreport.com and see why it remains the most trusted publication in the land industry.
All right, guys, and we are back. I have never done this before, and Koby is giving me the reins, so buckle up.
It's weird.
A little bit. We'll learn together.
We were just talking about how it was, this is taped. So worst case scenario, if you bomb it, I'll just cut it out. Don't worry about it.
I'm not going to bomb it. That's why you hired me. So one thing that really just came to my mind is your history in the Navy. You are a veteran, and it's something that you don't talk about a lot, and that I had to point out to you from a brand positioning standpoint on the front end of all this. So give us the story on that and how you feel that has kind of carried you throughout your career and even Ironhorse today.
Well, I guess if we're being honest, I got into the Navy business by screwing off in college when I had the opportunity to go. And for those of you young kids, this is back when your parents did get an indication of how you were doing at school. They sent the report on your
card.
classes. It wasn't a report card, but it was basically just all the bundle of class grades and stuff like that. They'd send it to your house. And my dad found out that I was doing other things than going to class and came down and picked me up one day when I wasn't expecting him to, and took me to the recruiter's office. So the Navy was the only one that was there that day. And that's how I ended up in the Navy. But I did do 13 plus years in submarines. Some of that was on shore duty. I worked for naval housing during shore duty, but I was on several submarines, and it was a really kind of a cool job. I was a cook because I went to the boat as an undesignated striker, which means that I didn't have a job. I just got to go check out what everything was happening and kind of pick my job when I got down there. And one of the first things that I realized was that the cooks didn't stand overnight duty. And so
you didn't want to do fire watch?
No, I didn't. Well, I did my fair share of fire watch and all that stuff, but I didn't have to, when we stood watch, we got to go home at the end of our shift, and we didn't have to stay overnight when we were in port. So that was a super seller for me. We did. The military is a great option for people. I think still to this day, the opportunities that you have to get an education. That's what I did. I used it to get an education. I really was more mature when I went back to school and really thought about myself from a marketable standpoint of, if I'm looking for a job, what's going to make me marketable. I didn't really want to do therapy, but understanding people and industrial psychology and things like that was really, really interesting to me. After being in the Navy, kind of trying to understand people if you're going to be in management. And so, yeah, it was a great job. I did it until I had the opportunity to go join my family business in the trucking business. And so, yeah, I just never think of it, I guess, from the standpoint of every cut. Like even when I had my own, when we had Remax, I never even hardly put any posts out there about it on Veterans Day because it just doesn't come to my mind. It was just... it was more fun than it was stressful for me. I think the families had it worse than what we did. We worked our butts off when we were at sea, so we didn't really...
And it's a brotherhood. So, you're having fun with your brothers. You're not even thinking... Your family's at home like, oh, my gosh, if the president makes the wrong comment tomorrow, what's going to happen to my baby? I know that's how we feel with my brother being a Marine right now. And obviously, there's always something to be worried about, but nothing too dangerous. So I get what you're saying. And he's that same way. He's like, I'm hanging out with my brothers. I'm having fun. I mean, to a certain degree.
It was, like I said, I had a great time, and I always said I'm going to do it until it's not fun anymore. And the higher rank you get, the less, the more senior you are. And then there's one day when you wake up and you kind of look in the mirror and you're like, unless I'm elected president, I'm never going to be in charge, so this is just a race to middle management, and like you said, I had a great opportunity. My parents and my brother gave me an amazing opportunity to come back and join that business and take that over for a while. So it was a good transition. And I'm one of those rare people that I will tell you, I loved it and I don't miss it. So I haven't missed it since I got out because the new adventure was just as cool.
Right. I totally understand where you're coming from, but 13 years is nothing to, put down or not be proud of. And I'm not saying you're not proud of it, but just what an honor to serve your country, even if it wasn't, the forethought that brought you to it, but you did do it and you did earn it. And it's definitely something that resonates with people because a lot of people, you said your dad didn't give you a choice, but I guess at the end of the day, you could have ran away.
Yeah, I had a choice. I knew I did. No, his deal was just... I think that a lot of people get themselves in a lot of problems by they're brainwashed into thinking that's what you have to do is you have to go to college and you have to get a degree. And 90%, well, probably let's say 70% of them go get some degree that's not going to be a benefit to them, which probably is what I was going to end up doing, is get some degree in like ag or something that would be very general and not have any sort of specifics to it. And I would have had to go spend the first year of my career learning what my job is. And so I think take it, that was, again, when I got done with my college, I was straight A's. I worked hard for it. I had a full-time job and a young daughter when I was doing it. So I earned it. And I really feel like it was a great experience. And I think a lot of people ought to look at it, not just the military, but there's other things that you can do with your life besides go waste 4 or 6 years at college and waste a whole bunch of money and be in debt when you get started. If you don't know what you're going to be when you grow up, definitely take
Yeah.
that time to figure it out before you go. Finding yourself in college is not as cheap as it used to be. And so I highly
Mm-mm.
recommend you find yourself working at Applebee's or something until you figure out what your life's passion is.
I have a college degree. I did not have to pay for it. Thank you, Jeff and Amber Hurdle. But I also wouldn't have done it had they not paid for it, because I had enough thought to that. And I would say that my experience in what would seem like, piddle paddle jobs is really what brought me here today. And really, I mean, even the house that I'm sitting in recording this, like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my job at a salon, spa, and boutique. So those little jobs really add up. And to your point that we discussed earlier, it's never a failure just because something doesn't work out somewhere. There's always something to be learned from that. So switching gears real quick, you talked about having a young daughter and you've got 2 kids. How has your family shaped the trajectory of your career and even starting Ironhorse today?
I think initially, like when my shift to move from being in the military to joining my family business, the trucking business back then, had a lot to do with you're looking ahead at the future. And I'm thinking, okay, at the trajectory I'm on, if I stay in for 20 years, my kids, I'm going to be at sea when my kids are doing their high school sports and events and stuff like that. I'm going to miss all of that. And so that was one of the major things that I looked at in changing out of that really comfort zone of the military. And again, like moving back and working for your family is not always cool. Like I was getting paid quite a bit of money by the government. I know the guys don't think that, but we really, as far as a family goes, we were blessed. My wife did not have to work. She was able to stay home with our kids. And then once we got into the real world, she ended up having to go to work. We were able to bring her into our company and she was able to get a job like I did with the trucking business and work her way up in that. But so it was a big adjustment, but I don't miss it. Like I'm so glad that I was there, able to be there for the, watch the kids do their stuff and, and they grow up so fast. So now my baby's going to be 30 this year. So,
Yeah.
or my oldest. So, and so it's a fast life.
Yeah. Continuing on that same topic and thought process, because this is obviously Jake and I would still consider us newly married. I think we celebrate 3 years in a couple of weeks. You and Carrie are still very much best friends. Like y'all still have that young love feeling when people are around you. Carrie is a part of our business and she does speak up sometimes. And I'm like, if that's what your wife is saying, I know the conversations that are had at home that we don't all get to hear. I'm going to trust Carrie on this one. So let's talk about you and Carrie for a little bit and how that shaped your career and how she's been operating behind the scenes as you build Ironhorse.
So Carrie has been a part of the, we've worked together since we got out of the Navy and worked at Skyview, the trucking company that we worked for a while and then bought from my parents when they retired. My brother and I did. So it's awesome to have a wife that you're that close with that you really can spend all day and all night with them. That is something that I think 90% of the people couldn't say about their relationship. And so it is really good. She's extremely intelligent. She's intuitive and very conservative, which I need because I'm like, I want it now. I want it all and I want it now, like the song says. And so she's able to kind of rein me in at times and say, can we let's not go into $1 billion worth of debt to go do this. Let's try and, do things in phases and make some money before you spend it and type of deal. And so, but she's, like I said, you've seen it. She doesn't speak unless it's, when she does speak, it's important. People do need to listen to it. She doesn't run her mouth like I do constantly. So, but she's a very, very, very impressive woman. She just told me the other day, she doesn't work for our company as a real estate agent because we don't sell any homes. And so she does work for a residential company, Nebraska Realty, which is who we merged with, were bought out by years ago. Our Remax offices were all bought out by them. And she's worked for them ever since. She's over 10 million in gross sales, over 40 transactions in 2025 again. I don't know exactly what those numbers are, but I would imagine they're quite a bit over those, but because she was able to get into the elite club in her company. So, so very impressed with her. So not only does she stop by every once in a while to tell us what we're doing wrong, she also full-time job in real estate as well.
And she still finds the time to slow down and love her people too. Y'all are definitely somebody that we can look to. And I know Blair is just obsessed with you guys. Y'all coming to Nashville made the biggest impression on her.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when she was trying to keep track of us. So it's such a sweet little girl she is, but she was trying, every once in a while, one of us would wander off and she was looking for us. So that was a lot of fun and good to get to know you guys and break bread and spend a little bit of time together. And
Yeah.
she is definitely a doll. We absolutely adore her.
So we just got a few more minutes in this segment. If you didn't have Carrie telling you to pump the brakes and make sure we're managing our finances, what is the one thing, zero limits, no budgets, no time constraints? If you could snap your fingers and have it for Ironhorse tomorrow, what would that be?
Geez, that's a good question. So many things. So
He's like, I don't know. What list do I go down?
I don't know. I don't know if Carrie listens to these podcasts or not, but
Carrie, just turn it off right now,
just turn it
please.
off for a second. I think like I'm a big people person. So if I could, spend money, I would spend it on agents and brokers. I really would. I would truly figure out a way to financially incentivize people that we want on our team. Not to say that we just buy them off, but I think I have a list and you have a list of people that we'd really love to have. And not only that, but to be able to implement some sort of a mentorship, like training program for kids that are in college, that are maybe interested in coming out and doing real estate to try and, be able to help pay them while they're learning our system so that we can train them our way and they don't get all the garbage in that they get from a lot of the companies that are out there.
No, I don't
That
think
makes
that's paying them off. Yeah, no, I think that's how do we give them as much value as possible so they're just not parking their license with us. Well, that is go ahead.
I was just going to point out, like, I've kind of gone through, I have a real heart for mentorship, and I really do want, like to leave the industry when I retire or they bury me or whatever it ends up being. I do want to, for at least in the areas that I'm at and in the places that I have the impact to be able to say I left it better than better than it was when I started. And I think a lot of that is the people and the attitude and the clients first, the agents are first. Like how do we stay within our budget, but yet create an atmosphere where the agents feel like they can just totally blow up their business and thrive here? How can we be that resource for them and for advice or for tools or for branding, whatever that is?
To your point about mentorship, and then we'll wrap this part up. I knew that this would be a good partnership on the front end. I could have never imagined the mentorship that I would receive from you. I mean, our calls go 2 hours sometimes, well past our 1 hour leadership meeting. And I just really appreciate the time that you take with me, and you're very patient with me and very understanding and allow me to be who I am. And knowing that I alone get that, I can see how it pours out into everybody in our business. And so I do think that is the sign of a very strong leader. And so I have no doubt this company is going to be very successful and a safe place to land for a lot of agents in the future.
I agree. And I appreciate your kind words. And I honestly, I think our biggest challenge, the two of us have a lot of similarities, I think, as far as like our drive and things. And I think honestly, our biggest challenge is when we get to that point where the systems are all in place and, it seems like it's all a well-oiled machine and it's running, is to keep us engaged and, focused on, like the new stuff, because I'm one of those people that, once things are good, then I'm bored.
Set it and forget it.
Figure something else out. So good at building the system. My brother and my wife both said when I was thinking about doing this, they're like, you should just start a business where you help people start their business. Like you could go in, they could pay you and cause you're really good at getting everything started. And then once stuff's going, it's like, oh, well, this is kind of boring. What am I going to do? So I think that's going to be our challenge for us, you and I think that's going forward as we build stuff is it's more than money for us. Money is something I can make. I could probably go to most industries and figure out how to make money at it. It's it's the vision and and the baby, grow,
Right.
trying to figure out how to make the company into something is way more
The first
important.
driving inspiration. Yeah. Yeah,
Money's a byproduct of awesome in my mind. So,
I
but
agree.
I think that's when I look down at the horizon, that's my thing is we got to figure out how to be teammates on that and keep us engaged and try and figure out the new stuff and exciting stuff for the company so that we don't get bored once we get everything propped up.
Well, back to your point about people, I think we're always going to have, a train of people to be on brand that will keep us motivated and looking at things differently. And Lord knows the land industry is ever changing.
Yep, that's true. But I think, like I honestly, we surround ourselves with such great people in the industry that I almost don't even like consider the people that aren't great a part of it anymore. It's really weird. But
Yeah.
like the people that are like, in their county and they own it and they do things like from 25 years ago and, like their auctions are all ridiculous and they're not serving their clients at all. To me, it's just like, why even waste your time on that? That is like
Yeah.
just a corpse walking around and with no place to lay down yet.
Yeah.
And so we really are blessed in the fact that our friends and buddies through RLI and different things really are the best in the industry. And so we are honing our skills to the greatest, and
That's
so
right.
I think that's exciting. Like I just remember when I first started in real estate, I was very locally minded, and kind of looked at just the 10 competitors that I had around me. And it did not take me 2 years to kind of shine past all of that, and look a little bit more globally for my heroes.
I was going to say, I bet you never imagined when you started real estate, you'd be employing some random chick out of Nashville, Tennessee.
And when I first started, man, I was going to be like, take over my
Just
several
your
counties.
area.
Yeah, my county
Yeah.
around here. And my wife was going to get a real estate license to back me up. So we didn't end up going to jail if she had somebody sign a contract or something like that. And she is one of the top real estate agents in our area now. One of the top ones in her company that has 1,200 agents in it. So she's going to an award show next month to receive her award again for 2025. So it really is one of those things. And we have never set the goals of any of that.
Right.
My goals have always been people-based, client-based. How many people can we serve? Are we doing it right? And the things that make me sick to my stomach aren't necessarily that I wasted money on something that I probably shouldn't have. It's, man, we really let these people down because we were distracted with other things, and weren't hearing the communication from that particular client. And so we learn our lessons from those situations. But man, it's definitely, it's exciting because like I said, the cash is the byproduct. That's not why we do it. Like
Yeah.
it's,
I think when that's your business focus, it does naturally build itself into something just incredible, and God puts favor on it.
I think that's absolutely true.
All right. Well, we are going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back. All right, guys.
The American Land Seller Podcast is proud to be sponsored by Ironhorse Land Company. At Ironhorse, land is not a side business. It is all we do. From farms and ranches to recreational and development properties, our team brings deep land expertise, boots on the ground experience, and high quality marketing to every listing. Whether you own land today or are planning for the future, Ironhorse Land Company helps landowners make confident, informed decisions. Visit ironhorselandcompany.com to learn more.
And we're back, and I'm back.
Man's in charge again.
That's right. You did a great job there, little lady, but let me just show you how it's done. That was a joke for those of you who don't write us an email on that. That was
Yeah. And I'm not a feminist, so please know I'm not in the least bit offended. Don't worry about me.
it was just a joke. No, well, you know what? Let's talk just a little bit about what the American Land Seller podcast is going to look like in the future, because I like, you don't realize, it's kind of like I'm talking to, like, we're doing this for nobody. And then you guys start going through all the stuff and you start seeing the stats and that you're like getting, and it's not a whole lot, but most of them, if you go across all of the platforms, we're at, 2,500 to 3,000 downloads for each episode or more. Some of them were really popular and got to like 6,000 or 7,000. So, that for a really super focused, podcast, I think that is a win for us. I know that, We want to grow it to be more than it is. And so I think let's just talk about what's the format look like in the future, and what's your vision is for it now that you're kind of a part of it, Brittany.
Yeah, so Kobe tasked me just with the rebrand, which is super exciting. I love putting together branding. I do not have a graphic design background, but I am educated by the world, I guess, and different things that I can
Same.
find online. And so I had a lot of fun rebranding the podcast to really fit the Iron Horse brand while also being something that would be strong and stand alone on its own if need be. And Kobe came to me and said, "What do you think about being more a part of this podcast?" And honestly, I'd never even thought about having my own podcast. That would be up my husband's alley. Um, but naturally, Kobe completely gets this because we are the same personality type. I was like, well, if I have anything to do with it, we're going to be #1 land podcast. So that's what that's going to look like. There will definitely be a little bit more consistency on our end, now that we're kind of got a little bit of a foundation under us with the Iron Horse brand. And I don't really know what that looks like. I don't like to put us in a box, so I'm not going to make any particular promises, but just know that we're coming full steam ahead with it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be fun too, because it's like I think people get tired of just hearing from me, even though we have some. I mean, we've been blessed with some really cool guests on here and stuff. But I think one of the things that'll be really fun is to swap out as hosts or be co-hosts or whatever that looks like, and kind of have a little different vibe every week. And the rebrand, I mean, you're seeing it come out on social media. It's really, really cool. It does, just so everybody knows, the American Land Seller Podcast is a separate entity from Iron Horse, but it is definitely fueled by it, paid for by it. They're one of our biggest sponsors, and we're biased because we're both Iron Horse Land Company. So, but our goal is we want to get the best people in the industry on here to talk about all the stuff that's going on. We want to. There's so many things that I think people either misunderstand because they get their news from one place or another. Like the wolves in Colorado and the water issues that we're going to be coming up soon for the western part of the country, central and western part of the country, because we haven't had any snow or rain. All of that stuff is fascinating, and I think it's needs to be talked about.
Absolutely.
And so I think we've got a few really cool. We've got a broker and his son coming up that are going to talk about the generational transfer, handing the reins off from one generation to the other. What's that look like? What are their struggles? And so I think that's going to be a really cool one. We've got just some really fun stuff coming up. And so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that's the consensus is just being creative and how can we use this to be a benefit for everybody. I know that we're going to start having our agents come on so that people can get to know our agents, and our agents are obviously a wealth of knowledge on their own, and talking through them with that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I think, you just look at our company, right? I grew up a farmer. I owned a trucking business. I have a Navy background. I owned a computer store for a while, done real estate for 9-10 years now. You have worked for several different, really different, land companies, honestly, and a residential company. And, Carrie's a wealth of knowledge. She's one of the top residential agents. So to have her on would be fun.
Yes.
As our chief financial officer, she's got a lot of knowledge, but she also has that place where we don't really even look at, which is houses. Brian is a cowboy, born and raised. He's got his own pastures up until a couple years ago, had cows, comes at it from that perspective. Joel is a specialist in hogs confinement sales, which I think is fascinating alone. He says
I was going to say it's completely fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. You kind of have that, commercial slash, like your dad's company is all about helping people create the American dream, for crying out loud, to own land,
Right.
and make it as easy as possible for people to have their own patch of dirt. And so that development, around the area that you're in. So we have a lot of people that I think are very interesting in our company, and it's going to be fun to try and get them all on and sprinkle them out throughout the years. And again, like, we still want, people from other companies. Like, we don't care.
Absolutely.
We'll co-brand the episode with you. We'll put your information on there so you can, so that you get a little bit of extra advertising from our group, and that's been really, really fun to be able to do that. And we've had some great guests, so it's going to be a fun future for American Legacy, or not American Land Seller Podcast. American Legacy is,
You're getting your companies mixed up.
my
Koby.
company I used to work for. Yeah. But so if you're looking down the road, Brittany, 5 years, what does Ironhorse Land Company look like to you?
In 5 years, we're going to be a well-oiled machine. We're already getting there. We're pumping the oil in. It's just moving a little bit slowly, but with intention. That is not because anybody's dragging their feet. It is with complete intention. So in 5 years, I imagine that we're going to blow past our goals. I know that we were on the upper end of, we did a huge strategy session at the end of the year and the first of the year. And Koby and I probably had a little bit more, I'm losing the word here, but we were definitely on the top end of the goals. But I
We
do
were
think
the
we were still a
bee
little,
hags.
I was going to say, I still feel like that was conservative for us. I truly believe in what we're doing, and I really do think God's favor is on this company. And so I think, Koby already has us licensed in 12 states with more coming. And when we talk about, hey, we might need a license over there, like, Koby gets it done yesterday. So I think you're going to see Ironhorse as a real national brand to be reckoned with, and definitely a household name that's going to be respected. It's not going to be the brand that you look at and you're like, oh, they just brought on another agent and look at them with their 500 agents. That's not going to be us. As we mentioned in a different podcast last week, the RLI podcast, we've turned away more people than we've hired on. And that, again, is with intention. Like, I think our company has been founded on the word of intention.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I can honestly say, though, that sounds arrogant. It's not, though, because we want people to have the fit that's good for them as well as us, right? So
yeah.
It's not saying that we're being arrogant. It's, that intentionality is the perfect word, because we do love people and we really want them to be able to be a success. And some of those guys that we have turned down still are reaching out to me, and I still help them. I'm like, hey, this is what I would be doing. This is the kind of stuff. Coaching other people's team members I don't have any problem doing that. It's just a matter of, I don't want to have, like, if we see friction ahead, because we think somebody, like they're going to get themselves into a situation where, it's not going to work. They're going to be mad at us or we're going to be mad at them. Then it's not worth even starting in our hearts. So.
Yeah, so to expand on that even further, the conversation isn't, oh, they're not Ironhorse. It's, we're not quite in the position to give them what they probably need right now. And we don't want to be another notch in their hat. Like, we want the people that land with us to stay with us. And we want to make sure that we are fully prepared to give them whatever they could possibly need, obviously within reason, to be successful. And so that's recognizing our own shortcomings, or I don't even know that shortcomings are the word. Again, we're just launching this from the ground up, and we're trying to do it as fast as possible while also putting a little bit of restraint on ourselves. And so we just want to make sure that, again, people aren't just landing here and then going, well, that didn't work out. They overpromised and underdelivered. There is way too much of that in this industry, and that's exactly why we're building Ironhorse.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's it. I don't, like we don't want just another company. Like we don't want just to, like check all the boxes and then say, oh, we've arrived, and then who's our buyer? Who's going to buy us, and how are we going to make a bunch of money? Which I think there is some of that right now in the industry, where there's a lot of companies that are just propping themselves up, adding agents, adding infrastructure, adding buildings and things like that, so that they can have a balance sheet that works for somebody to want to acquire it. And I'm much more interested in, 10 years from now, passing the baton to Brittany and have her be the boss or somebody, whoever that ends up being. But, that's more our speed is like, how do we create something that can be generational and not just, sell it to some investment company or something like that, or, some residential company that thinks they need a land arm. So
I would, we've talked a lot about it around it, but really what Koby has done with his intention of starting Ironhorse and with the people he's brought on is we're taking it back to the basics while making sure we're living in 2026, if that makes any sense at all. So the basics are serve your people and serve your people well and stand by your word, and don't be running so fast or get so caught up in your numbers that you forget that's literally the whole point.
Yeah.
And so to your point, a lot of people are just numbers, and numbers are important, goals are important, but at the end of the day, like if you don't have that strong foundation, it's really easy to get ahead of yourself in a way that you wreck yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that I thought was interesting in the couple companies that I've worked for is that they were very worried about the brand as priority and not the people as priority, and that's not to say that that's bad, because you do have to protect your brand. But the realtors are a great example of that. They have not protected their brand over the years, and look at what happens. Everybody's a realtor, like there's, in the consumer's eye, nobody knows the difference. But our goal is to, if you look at Ironhorse, there is, like in the intro for Brittany, we talk about how her fingerprints are all over the brand. Everybody's fingerprints are all over what we're doing. If you look at some things, it's all Brian, or it's mostly Brian, or it's, if you look at this other place, Joel, wanted this. And so we were able to add that. And so listening to our agents and being able to, within reason, give them what they need to succeed, and not be so arrogant to think that I know what all land sales in all the other parts of the country are. We don't. We have to rely on our agents and our brokers in those areas to be the experts, and then how do we backfill that with support, because we don't even look at the, like I always say, where I'm at and in Iowa, we don't even have the same dirt classifications. I don't understand what they're looking at, and they don't understand what I am. Similar soil in some places, just the way we look at it when we're selling it and when people are buying it. So
I think take it back to that word of intention. A company starts protecting the brand over their agents, and that is a immediate sign that they're hiring numbers over people, whereas we're hiring people, not numbers.
Right.
And so we have had back to the word collaboration. Brian's come to me with, hey, I'm doing this, can you help me out? Joel's come to me with that, or even I've put something together for Joel and he's like, actually, it kind of needs to do and say this. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Thank you for pointing it out to me. Let's make a note of it, so that we don't have that hiccup moving forward. We want to be educated, but also take that feedback from our agents and not just, oh, well, that's not how this brand does it. It's like, no, you're dead in the water if you quit evolving. So I think that's something we do have going for us.
Yeah. And again, like I think just having that attitude of being able to have your leaders say, that does look better, or that is something I never considered, and not just jam down your throat the way they want it to be, and this is the way it is, and we're way smarter than you are. So, like,
Yeah.
and again, like that's a business model, I guess, if that's what you want to do. But our business model is more of how can we're not going to be the best if we just, like stick our head in the sand and think we've already arrived. We have to continually, you said it, be evolving, and stuff like that. It really is something more, it's something different from what I even imagined when I started. But it's just so, I don't know, there's no weight on my shoulders at this point. It's, we've got deadlines, we've got stuff we need to do between the two of us. We figure out a way that we're going to work hard one day of the week and get it all knocked out or whatever, or this week we work and next week we got other stuff we need to do. But I think, the 10, agent goal this year, the 100 million goal, David Whitaker talks about sharing your goals, so that you can, like you're constantly talking about them. Seems like in a land business, a lot of the guys out there probably think 100 million isn't anywhere near what they should be. We're starting from nothing. So 100 million is going to be a great goal to set for our first year. We're in 12 states and we're only looking for 10 agents. So if that tells you anything, we're looking for those brokers that are going to be able to build teams in those areas, and great agents that are just looking to, be a part of building something. I think is if that's what you are, then I think you're our kind of people. If you're just looking for what we have to offer at this point, well, it's not a whole lot. So
That is not true. Don't cut that out. Run that back. You would be shocked if I could unveil the curtain at some of the other companies, and this is not as a to spit on them in any certain way, but it is really easy to promise something and it is very hard to deliver on it. And so that would be my biggest piece of advice to any agent. And this is my piece of advice when people are especially getting into the industry is like, not everybody has that gift of discernment. So just really take the time to be intentional and don't forget to interview these companies because it matters for you too. And if something sounds too good to be true, then it probably is.
Yeah. And again, if you're a person like Brittany and I, where it should have been done yesterday and it needs to be exactly perfect, and we need to just in a hurry to get to the goal and all that stuff, you need to put the Carries and the Bryans in your life, and vice versa. They may not believe this, but they need us just as much as we need them, because a lot of times, if you're over conservative, then you really don't get anywhere. You just
Right.
And so I think that's the greatest thing about our company is just the different personalities that are part of it. That just kind of like, it's not as much frustrating as I thought it was going to be to just have somebody go, let's take a beat on that. Let's think about that for a little bit. Or, you don't need to, we don't need to
Conquer Rome in a day.
Yeah. And so it's just been, it's been a great experience, and it's really been good because the last couple of years for me have definitely been, wandering in the desert trying to figure out my purpose. And so whether it's entrepreneur or entrepreneur, I'm definitely one or the other. And, if you're with organizations that don't realize that, that's really what it is aligning yourself with people that are going to be a good teammates for you. So.
Absolutely. So if you are thinking about making that career move, because there is a lot of rumbling in the industry, not just in the market, but even in agents and what's going on in that world, you don't have to send us your resume right away. You can always just pick up the phone and call me, call Koby, call Brian if that's who you know and you're comfortable talking with. And we can just talk and see what's going on in your world and if we'd be a good fit for you and move forward from there. And if not, we're also, as Koby has mentioned, we're always happy just to talk with anybody. We are not, Ironhorse is our baby, but we are not so committed to Ironhorse that we can't help others out who don't share the same brand as us. So we're always open and available and excited to talk to whoever.
And it is, I mean, it's just a challenge to us. I think a lot of people don't believe this, but we truly do want to improve the industry overall. Like, we love the competition. We, like, we can go to a conference or, stop by on our way through some places and visit the people that we compete against, and laugh about, like, how you did this and it created this in our world, and now we're going to do this, and kind of a laugh at each other type of, and again, if you have to have that one listing so bad or that one buyer so bad that you're frustrated or violently mad at losing that to another person, then I would highly recommend you go get yourself a wage job, because like, that's just like it's all about, like, this industry is all about putting stuff in a hopper so it comes out one day. And if you're focusing on the people and helping the people, no matter if they're an agent from another company. And, Brittany just said that. We love to, to brainstorm with people. And if you're struggling with something or you need advice on marketing or something like that, you're not going to get heavily recruited if you call us. Like I said, we have 10 agents in 12 states. Shouldn't be that hard to do for us this year. So really hasn't been our primary focus. We're really not trying to add anybody till the end of March anyway. So beginning of like April timeframe. So we're, feel free to call us. We'd love to help you out if we can.
Well, do you have any closing remarks for us, Koby?
I was
other
trying
than
to take back over. It was my turn to have the podcast, Brittany, and now you're just taking over. So now
I'm trying to learn, Koby. You're mentoring me.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, that's fun. Closing remarks. No, I'm excited. I am excited. I think this is a great group, and a lot of fun stuff coming up that, we really do. We really are just absolutely blessed. I just can't say it any other way. Like, the Lord has blessed us, and we don't deserve it, but we'll take it. So, I don't know. Great bunch of families and good-looking people from the kissing photos that you put on there.
Yeah,
Should
we do.
Doing that, you should put the bride's picture up first and the fat guy, like in the last picture, so people could at least look at the rest of them.
Whatever.
Thank God Carrie was in it, because every time she's in a picture, it makes it way better. But
Hey, you definitely outkicked your coverage with that one.
you're not the first person that's told me that. So don't tell her. I don't need her to get a big head. We're not changing the doors in our house, but we appreciate you guys listening to this, if you've made it this long, and we are committed to starting to kick these things out at 10 o'clock on Friday morning every week with new guests. If you think you might have some fun stuff to talk about, please reach out to us. You'll find all the contact information in the show notes or the description below. Please like, share, subscribe to whatever you're listening on and things like that, so you can catch up with us in the near future. And Brittany, I have so appreciated your time today and your partnership in this. It has been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what we do next. So anything before we go?
No, I would just echo that back to you, Koby. Like, I could not tell you enough how much I appreciate you. You have no idea how many conversations are being had that you don't know about, where I just brag on you and how amazing of a person you are, and how much I love what we're doing together and with our team. So thank you very much for having me on and for this beautiful opportunity. And here's to 2026 and all that it brings, and a lifetime ahead.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. Well, thank you so much again for listening to us today, and we will see you all down the road.
As we wrap up another episode of the American Land Seller Podcast, thank you for spending part of your week with us. For more episodes, resources, and updates, visit www.americanlandseller.com. And be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform. If you found value in today's conversation, please like, subscribe, follow, rate, and review the show on whatever app you are listening or watching on. It helps more landowners and land professionals find the podcast. You can also connect with us on social media for updates, new episodes, and behind-the-scenes content. Until next week, Koby and Brittany wish you success in all your land endeavors. God bless you, and have a great week.
The American Land Seller Podcast is brought to you in part by The Land Report. The Land Report is the premier publication covering land ownership, land markets, and the people shaping the future of land in America. From farmland and ranches to timber, conservation, and legacy properties, The Land Report delivers deep reporting, trusted insight, and long-form storytelling focused entirely on land. Learn more at thelandreport.com. We are also proud to be sponsored by Ironhorse Land Company, a multi-state land brokerage specializing in farm, ranch, recreational, and development land across the heartland. Built by land professionals, Ironhorse Land Company sets the iron standard through high-quality marketing, real-world land expertise, and a boots-on-the-ground approach that puts landowners first. To learn more, visit ironhorselandcompany.com.